So what did you do before this?
Before this, I'll be in complete disclosure. What I tell people, the forklift operators, when they're unloading me, instead of getting into the big discussion, is I tell them I did real estate development. Because when I tell them I'm an attorney, their jaw just drops, and we spend the rest of our conversation, and he'll pause during, loading or unloading me to go, wait a minute, you stop being an attorney to become a truck driver? It's like, yeah. And they cannot wrap their head around it.
Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Rob. I'm a flatbed driver here at Prime. Known Kiersey for a while. She's been a mentor for me, helped me a lot, not only with trucking, but a lot of other things, keeping things in perspective. So we're here in the Millennium Center, and I'm getting ready to go home for a couple of days and then deliver a load of shingles in Virginia, and just decided to stop here and have lunch with her.
And you're a flatbedder. You're a company driver?
Yep, company driver, flatbed. I started, I think my hire date was April 30th, 2020. So I've been going about a year and a half now.
And how much money did you make last year?
My gross on including my per diem was $75,000. My first year driving, I made about $60,000. My first year solo, I made about $70,000.
Woohoo!
So full year. So, but I do run pretty, not super hard, but I do, take my 10-hour breaks. Don't take much more than a 10-hour break. I'm not the quickest at securing, but once I get rolling, I pretty much keep the left door closed. I do see people pass me, and if you run the way that I do, if you're efficient and just drive when you have your drive time, you will see people pass you repeatedly, which means we're the slower trucks on the road, but they're obviously stopping more than I am. So you'll see the trucks that are governed at 75 pass me multiple times. So if you simply, I get the load, I read the instructions, I plug it into my GPS. I actually run two GPSs. I have a Garmin. That's my personal GPS. There's some things I like about that. I won't get into too much detail. And then I use a Qualcomm. It gives me a little bit, I like the redundancy, because if they're in sync, it gives me confidence that I'm going the right way. If they're out of sync, it gives me some concern. But essentially, I get the load, I go, head straight there, pick it up. Usually I end up being there early to most of my loads. They give me more time, but I head straight out, secure it, head out to my fuel stop, make it as far as I can on my clock for that day, take my 10-hour and get up and deliver the next day. The way that I run, this is my preference, it just works out for me, is I basically run a Monday through Saturday schedule with a Sunday off. I take a 34-hour reset pretty much each week. My fleet manager and I have gotten into this routine where I start Monday with a fresh clock. And one of the things as a driver, and we had some of these discussions early on, but being the easy guy for your fleet manager is making it simple. So one of the things about running through your 70 the way I do by Saturday is Monday morning, my fleet manager knows exactly what I have on my clock. I got 70 hours. And every day, he doesn't have to go back and look at my recaps. He knows what I have every day. I got 11:14, with certain exceptions when I do use a split. But other than that, I run Monday through Saturday, pick up my weekend load on usually Friday morning after I'll deliver a load on Friday morning. Get my next load Friday morning, which is usually anywhere from 1,000 to 1,600 miles. It's my weekend load. Drive the rest of Friday. Drive Saturday, which is kind of a day off because all I'm doing is driving, and then take Sunday off. Deliver on Monday. It works really well. Like I said, it's a routine that my fleet manager and I have gotten into, and that's how I make the money. So as far as respect that I get here at Prime, when, for the most part, and this is the expectation, again, being easy for your fleet manager, very rarely do we actually have conversations. When we do have conversations, sometimes if I call him and he's busy, sometimes he'll be frazzled. Understandable. But most of the time, whenever we talk on the phone, he's very cordial, very respectful. I just had a tire that I got replaced. The Road Assist has been very helpful with me getting repairs done on the truck. But I will say that I've shown, like, there are certain times when I've had an issue on the vehicle and I decide to end up getting it fixed on my 10-hour break instead of having someone come out for Road Assist. So if it's something that I can roll with, I will. So I think that I've shown that I'm a team player, and that helps out. But as far as the respect, in fact, the load that I got this weekend, I had some home time scheduled, and usually he'll end up coordinating a load, and he sent me the load and said, okay, what do you need to do? I need to get my DOT physical renewed. And he's like, well, does this load work? Yeah, it does. It works perfect. So I haven't had any issue with being disrespectful, and when I do call at least my main dispatch and say my name, he knows who he's talking to. Now, weekend dispatch, I will have to tell them my truck number. Now, who are you? What truck number are you?
So how did you deal with the fear of change and the apprehension of change in careers?
Well, it was, I didn't know that I was going to be as successful as I was. There's the fear of having an accident and getting fired in your first year. There's a fear of not making it through training. So there are some apprehensions that I had. I also was concerned that I would hate it. And some people say trucking is hard. It's not difficult to do the job, but it can be challenging. I've had some difficult loads to secure. I've gotten stuck on ice-covered roads. So there is a stress factor, and you need to be able to encounter, to work through some of the difficulties. But overall, as I was just talking to Kiersey, for the most of your time is spent driving. I will say, for someone who's coming into it, if you don't like to drive, this is not the job for you. If you consider 10, I generally drive between 8 to 10 and a half, almost 11 hours on my drive shift. And that's after maybe delivering a load and then securing another load. So if you consider driving to be a onerous work task, you will hate this job. If being away from home for long stretches of time is difficult for you because you live out of your truck, it's a good and bad part is when you are done with your day, you just park and curl into the sleeper. But you're away from home. So it's had its challenges, but for the most part, I'm pretty content. I listen to podcasts. I'm doing some creative writing and some philosophical writings.
So how hard is flatbed physically? Because some of us, like me, are just lazy.
Flatbed is not as physical as
I'm honest. I'm truthful.
some people would say. Is throwing straps is not that difficult. Throwing and binding straps down, that's not that difficult. The tarps are a different story. Probably one of my worst loads was Cedar City, Utah. I had a very tall load and a very long load, and I had 3 tarps. Well, tarps are 100 pounds, and I had to carry them up a ladder on top of I measured it, a 13 8-foot load. Ice covered PVC, and it was 10 below. So I was up there throwing tarps, 10 degrees, which is not only is it can be difficult, but it's challenging. I do get, if I'm tarping, it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of, kind of lower level physical work. Probably the most difficult part is if you do have to carry your tarps up 100 pounds up a ladder. That's the most difficult part. But most forklift operators will actually put them up there for you.
So, any other tips or tricks?
Just the only thing that I would say is, first of all, if you're going to come into this, be honest with yourself, be honest with who you are, don't have delusions. Be realistic, learn as much about not only the work and the expectations, but the lifestyle, and be honest with yourself. If you think you can handle that, are you autonomous? Do you work independently? Can you work through problems? The last thing a fleet manager wants to do is hold somebody's hand. And if you can run like I do pretty much independently, all they get is a message that you've picked it up, you've delivered it, and then they send you another load and you just run.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate everything you said. I appreciate you as always. Thanks, sweetie.
Fun.